Exactly.
Recording in progress.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Well, we have a full house today, and it's a little after 8 o'clock, so we are still waiting for one of our board members who is in traffic, but we are going to get started and let him catch up when he arrives. I am, as president of the board, I am calling this meeting to order on February 20th, 2024. Just a few housekeeping things for those of you that are in the room or those of you that are attending virtually. If you're attending virtually, please keep your microphone muted until you are ready to speak. And if you are in the room with us, and there are quite a lot of us here today, please have your mobile devices on silent. We will call on directors in roll call order for discussion and questions in the following order. Director Gracia, who will be here momentarily, Director Bloomer, Secretary Treasurer McKenna, Vice President Bowman, and President Ortega. And all votes will be conducted via roll call. And with that, I would like to ask Director Bloomer to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So we can move to the next item on our agenda, which is roll call. And Assistant Secretary, I'm sorry, Senior Administrator Assistant Jamie will be taking the roll call today. Thank you. Good morning.
Director Gracia is noted. He'll be here shortly. Director Bloomer? Here. Secretary Treasurer McKenna?
Here.
Vice President Bowman?
Here.
And President Ortega?
Here. Thank you. Next item would be public comment on items not on today's agenda. For those of you who would like to comment on something that has to do with the business of the agency, but is not listed on today's agenda, if you would like to speak, please either come to the podium or make yourself known virtually by raising your hand, and we'll ask you to keep your comments to no more than 3 minutes. Did we receive any public comments via email or otherwise prior to the meeting?
No public comments have been noted.
Thank you. And seeing no one at the podium and no one on the Zoom call, we can move to the next item, which would be public comment on items that are listed on our agenda. Again, if you have something to say and you're in the room, please come to the podium. Please keep your comments to no more than 3 minutes. If you're attending virtually, please raise your hand and let us know you'd like to speak. Any public comments? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Tom Kiley, former part of this board. Good morning to all of you and to the most special staff in the entire Coachella Valley. All of you.
Yeah.
I'm going to just be brief because Jim Chiaffi won't let me speak more than about 30 seconds usually. I'm working on it. It was my distinct pleasure to deal for a number of years, to work with for a number of years, what I considered one of the most special groups of people that have ever served this community. They serve selfishly, tirelessly. They work through some of the most incredible issues, not just in the state or local level, but on a national level as well. I think our archives will show photos of folks in every place from Washington, D.C. to Nevada to Colorado, all on the behalf of those that they served. They didn't serve alone, though. Around this table and around the room today is a collection of the greatest people that have ever served a public agency. I was proud to be here for 28 years with all of you. Every day was a special day to see a DWA truck or a car out in the public. We could all be proud of everything you did and how you represented the agency. But above and beyond, these three folks represented your agency in your community with stellar performances. And I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to have been with you. I'm so proud of all of you, and enjoy your retirement.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Right, we've got a lot to cover today. We'll move to the next item, which is 6, the consent calendar. We have several items on the consent calendar. If there are any board members who would like to have a specific item removed from the consent calendar for further discussion, you can let us know now. If not, then I'll look for a motion to accept the consent calendar as presented.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent calendar.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. I have a first from Director Bloomer and a second from Vice President Bowman. May we take a roll call vote, please?
Director Grasha's absence is noted. Director Bloomer,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer McKenna,
Aye.
Vice President Bowman,
Aye.
and President Ortega.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 7, which I think is what most people are here for today. We will start with item 7A, which is request adoption of resolution number 1315, extending appreciation to Patricia G. Wager. Mr. Kraus.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr.
Morning.
President, members of the board. Attached is a copy of resolution number 1315, extending appreciation to Patricia G. Oygar, former director of the board. Ms. Oygar is to be acknowledged for her 30 years of dedicated service to Desert Water Agency. Staff recommends that the Board of Directors adopt resolution number 1315, extending appreciation to Patricia G. Oygar.
Thank you. So it looks like I get to read the resolution. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So resolution number 1315, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Desert Water Agency extending appreciation to Patricia G. Wagar for dedicated service. Whereas Pat began her tenure on the Desert Water Agency's Board of Directors in January 1992 when she was appointed to fill a vacancy. And whereas Pat was first elected to the Board of Directors in November 1992, re-elected in November 1997, November 2001, November 2005, 2009, 2013, 2018, and whereas Pat during her tenure was served in each position on the board as president, vice president, and secretary treasurer. In addition, has served on every board committee at one time or another, and whereas Pat had the second longest term on the board with 31 years of service, and whereas in 1999, Pat was appointed by Governor Wilson to serve on the Regional Water Quality Control Board. And whereas Pat was instrumental in the creation of the agency's first public information video and public service commercial. And whereas, I hope that's in the vault somewhere. And whereas Pat has been involved in every aspect of this agency's operation, including the Whitewater Mutual Water Company purchase, the acquisition of Chino Canyon, Cienega, introduction of new facilities and technology, instrumental in the agency's 50th anniversary event, personal benefits and policy, conservation and ecology, but has always purposed the direction of the Desert Water Agency with a mind not just for present concerns and obligations, but for future needs and advancements. And whereas Pat has long been a faithful advocate of the Desert Water Agency, its board, management, and staff, and has served with concern for the well-being of the agency's financial stability, its workforce, and with foresight for the future water needs of this community. And whereas Pat was also instrumental in heading the publication of Desert Water Agency's USDA book entitled 10-Year Research Findings on Drought-Tolerant Ornamental Plants, one of the first publications on this topic in the United States. And whereas Pat has faithfully discharged her duties as director of the Desert Water Agency for more than 31 years, ever aware of the importance of this stewardship in relation to the acquisition, storage, treatment, conservation, and disbursement of nature's most precious gift of water. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Desert Water Agency Board of Directors that Patricia G. Wager is acknowledged for her many years of service. It is the wish of the board that Pat will often reflect back on her unwavering service to this agency with great pride, and that she's mindful of the respect bestowed upon her for all she accomplished and provided to both the Desert Water Agency and this community at large. The board and staff of DWA extend a heartfelt thank you and wish that Pat continues to spend countless years enjoying a happy and healthy retirement, for she has certainly earned it. Adopted this 20th day of February, 2024. So now what happens? I've never done this before. So
I think we can invite you to say a few words if you'd like
yes,
to.
I would love that. Absolutely. Yes.
Beautiful. And big hellos to Mike, greatest attorney on planet Earth. I wish you were here. And Ashley, how you doing? You look a little stiff there. Anyway, I'm so happy to be here. You have no idea. But the parade of thank yous, you know, it has to start with the good people of Desert Hot Springs, Cathedral City, and Palm Springs who allowed me to sit in one of those 5 chairs. Because and God bless them, seriously, eternal thank yous. And so nice of you to do this today. I really appreciate it. Appreciate it. The staff, the management, the board. Not everybody does it. It's really important to me, but more importantly, it's a tradition, and you're continuing this tradition. And to me, it's like an example of what goes on in this place. Tom said it very nicely. To me, this place is such a place of respect. It's such a place of capability. It's a place of professionalism, and it's very unique. At least in my world, I don't run into it. And it's top to bottom and bottom to top, and it's just been my great pleasure to be a very small part of something that was much larger than me, that is doing really important work. And I loved every minute of it, and all of you, and you're all like amazing. So thank you so much. And a big bravo to the board for filling the reservoirs. Totally well done. Thank you.
We can acknowledge that Director Grasha was able to join us now. Thank you. Good to see you. Would we like to wait for photos at the end of these
I think
resolutions?
so.
Okay,
I think we'll do them
very good.
individually and together and
Okay,
whatever
very good.
combination.
Right, so item 7B, request adoption of resolution number 1316, extending appreciation to James Chaffee. And I will begin with that. Resolution number 1316, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Desert Water Agency extending appreciation to James Chaffee for dedicated service. Whereas Jim Chaffee began his tenure on the Desert Water Agency's Board of Directors by being appointed in April 2009 to fill a vacancy, then elected in November of 2009, re-elected in 2013 and 2018. And whereas Jim, during his tenure with the board, has served in each position on the board, board president, vice president, and secretary-treasurer, and in addition has served almost without exception on every board committee at one time or another. And whereas Jim represented the agency in a number of capacities, including serving as director on the Aqua JPIA Board of Directors, and whereas Jim, being a lifelong Palm Springs resident, was a member of the Desert Roundtable, the City of Palm Springs Planning Commission, the City of Palm Springs Architecture Advisory Committee, Palm Springs Economic Development Corporation, California Desert Chapter of the American Institute of Architects, and was a founding member of the Palm Springs High School Partnerships in Education. And whereas Jim started his firm, James Chaffee Architect in Palm Springs in 1978, since that time he has designed hundreds of projects, including custom and tract homes, apartments, commercial buildings, civic buildings, and shopping centers, and has been recognized by his peers with numerous awards for design excellence, and has been published in several magazines and books. And whereas Jim has long been a devoted supporter of the Desert Water Agency, its board, management, and staff, and has served with the well-being of the agency's financial stability, its employees, and sustainability of future water needs for this community. And whereas Jim has faithfully discharged his duties as a director of the Desert Water Agency for more than 13 years, ever aware of the importance of his stewardship in relation to the acquisition, storage, treatment, conservation, and disbursement of nature's most precious gift of water, And now, therefore, be it resolved by the Desert Water Agency, James Jim Chaffee is acknowledged for his many years of service. It is the wish of the board that Jim will often reflect back on his unwavering service to the agency with great pride, and that he is mindful of the respect bestowed upon him for all that he has accomplished and provided to both Desert Water Agency and this community at large. With infinite deep gratitude for all that he has done for the agency and the community, the board and staff of Desert Water Agency extend a heartfelt thank you and wish that Jim spends countless years of enjoying a happy and healthy retirement, for he's earned it. Adopted this 20th day of February 2024. And with that, Mr. Chaffee, would you like to come to the podium?
Do we get to comment?
Yes. Let's save it for the end.
Thank you, President Ortega. Well, despite all of that we just heard about, I have to say that my 13 years on this board was one of the highlights of my life. And being a part of one of the greatest companies that you could ever work for, I had no idea how well run and what an amazing staff and just everyone that does their work here. Spent time out in the field with a lot of these guys. Traveled all over the country with Dave and Mark, and I don't have any regrets at all about what we did and accomplished. Just I want to thank you for today. This is special to me, as Pat said. I want to thank Tom for his comments. I had a pleasure to have served with Tom as president when he was president of this board. He mentored me a lot in this business. He knew a lot about it, and also grew up with Tom. That's another story. But anyway, thanks again. When I pulled into this parking lot this morning, I felt like I was coming home, and it was 20 minutes to 8, like I did every day for 13 years, or twice a month. So thanks again. This agency will carry on and do its work. So. Adios.
Thank you. Okay. We'll move to item 7C, which is request adoption of resolution number 1317, extending appreciation to Joseph K. Stewart. The resolution of the Board of Directors of the Desert Water Agency extending appreciation to Joseph K. Stewart for dedicated service. Whereas Joseph, or Joe, Stewart began his tenure on the Desert Water Agency's Board of Directors in February 2012 when he was appointed to fill a vacancy, then elected in 2013 and re-elected in 2018. And whereas Joe, during his tenure with the board, has served in each position on the board, board president, vice president, and secretary-treasurer, and in addition has served on every board committee at one time or another. And whereas Joe brought a unique perspective with decades of experience as the owner of a security and financial fraud consulting firm, and whereas Joe was instrumental in improving the security of the agency's facilities and employees at our operations center, and in circumventing illegal activities threatening our service water supplies in Snow and Falls Creek canyons, whereas Joe has long been a faithful advocate of the Desert Water Agency, its board, management, and staff, and has served with concern for the well-being of the agency's financial stability, its workforce, and with foresight for the future water needs of this community. And whereas Joe has faithfully discharged his duties as a director of the Desert Water Agency for over 10 years, ever aware of the importance of his stewardship in relationship to the acquisition, storage, treatment, conservation, and disbursement of nature's most precious gift of water. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Desert Water Agency Board of Directors that Joseph Joe Stewart is acknowledged for his many years of service. It is the wish of the board that Joe will often reflect back on his unwavering service to this agency with great pride, and that he's mindful of the respect bestowed upon him for all he has accomplished and provided to both the Desert Water Agency and this community at large. With infinite deep gratitude for all that he has done for this agency and this community, the board and staff of Desert Water Agency extend a heartfelt thank you, and we wish that he spends countless years enjoying a happy and healthy retirement, for he has most definitely earned it. This 20th day of February 2024. Mr. Stewart?
Thank you, President Ortega.
Welcome.
It's been my pleasure to be a small part and member of this organization. Mark will recall that in 2007, Dave Luker put Mark and I in charge of handling some issues up in Snow Creek. I believe we've hiked we've hiked all of the Fuller Ridge PCT together. We had some great experiences up there. On one day, we were up there to handle some devices that we had installed, and on the way up, we stepped on a rattlesnake, and I said, Mark, on the way back, we need to step around this rattlesnake. And an hour later, we came back and stepped on the same rattlesnake.
Oh, dear.
So that was in right after 2007, and years later, my friend Tommy, well, first of all, let me explain. Tommy and Jimmy and I have known each other for going on 7 decades, and I've enjoyed almost every moment of it. But Tom and Dave Luker got me interested in serving on the board, and that was a great event in my life. I want to say so many nice things about Mike Riddell, who kept us in line, Dave Luker, who you never had to figure out where Dave stood, because Dave was going to tell you emphatically. And but the Mark and Martin, Esther, Sylvia, everybody, you do such a great job. For everybody out in the field, when I see one of the trucks out in the field, I never see anybody leaning on a shovel. I see people hustling. And when I pass Caltrans, I can't say the same thing about their crew. But, I also want to say thank you so much to Pat. Not only is Pat the historian on the board when I joined the board, but also can argue a tremendous argument against what I thought were my absolutely incredible arguments. And I have found myself on more than one occasion saying, you know what, her argument's better than my argument. So I'm going to vote with Pat. So anyway, I want to say just thank you to everybody here and all the people out in the field who do such a great job for this organization. And I hope that you can have the lifelong friendships of your team members here at Desert Water Agency, as I've had with Tommy and Jimmy. So with that, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
President Ortega.
And at this point, I'd like to give each of the directors an opportunity to make some comments before we go to our last resolution. Director Gracia?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no comment. Thank you.
Okay. Director Bloomer?
I do have a couple comments. Everyone in the room, I mean, all the directors, including Tom, were so welcoming when I first came onto the board. Actually, Tom took me for a tour. He wasn't even on the board, but they gave him the keys to the facilities to take me on a tour so I could learn more about the agency right before Jim Chiaffi convinced me to run for the board, which was a great decision. And I enjoyed every minute being mentored by everybody. And if you're ever wondering about the history of anything, Pat has it all stored in her head. So her and Mike Riddell could go toe-to-toe on agency history. So thank you all for guiding me and mentoring me and traveling to conferences and everything. So we miss you.
Thank you. Secretary Treasurer McKenna?
Well, sitting here in my tenure of 1 year, I'm in awe of someone that served this agency for 31 years. It's impressive. We stand on your shoulders, all of you, all three of you. I don't aspire to be here in 31 years. 30. I can't see myself coming through that door at 102 years old. But reading these tributes, and I don't know you, but reading these tributes, what strikes me is the faithful advocate, faithfully discharging duties. This faithfulness is something that I aspire to, and I look to your example for that. So I appreciate your service. I think it's been tremendous. And many congratulations to the three of you.
Thank you. And Vice President Bowman.
What can you say about people that you have the privilege of now sitting where they sat? I was honored to be on the MSWD board in '09, and we talked, a number of us, about the issues. And now where I'm sitting, I see things in a different way. I want to thank you for your hard work, your dedication, your commitment to DWA and to the water in the valley as a whole. We wouldn't have what we have without faithful board members like you guys. And it's a real honor to be here. And thank you for letting us stand on your shoulders and hopefully go a little farther in this path. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Yes, I was going to get to that. Yes. I wanted to take care of this first. We can vote on all three resolutions, and then we can move to the last one. So thank you for the reminder, and we will. I will look for a motion to. I believe we can do all three at the same time. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Mr.
You
President.
can,
Mr.
or you can do them separately.
I think we'll take them on all three at the same time, if you don't mind.
Okay.
In the interest of
Yeah.
time. All right. So I'll be looking for a resolution to accept items 7A, B, and C.
I'll make a motion to adopt
Good, thank you.
resolution number 1315, 1316, and 1317.
Thank you.
I will second that.
Thank you. So I have a first from Director Bloomer and a second from Secretary Treasurer McKenna. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Director Gracia,
Aye.
Director Bloomer,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer McKenna,
Aye.
Vice President Bowman,
Wholeheartedly aye.
and President Ortega.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Right. Now, item 7. Let's see. Where are we? 7D. There it is. 7D. This is a request for the adoption of resolution number 1318, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Desert Water Agency granting retirement status. Granting retirement status. Wow.
What
That's
if
a-
we don't?
That's a heavy responsibility to Mark S. Kraus. Whereas Mark S. Kraus began his service with Desert Water Agency on February 21st, 1995 as the operations engineer in Desert Water Agency's engineering department and was then promoted to assistant general manager on October 1st, 2004 and general manager on January 30th, 2016 and is concluding his career in that capacity. And whereas over his career with Desert Water Agency, Mark has always sought ways in which he could improve upon the reliability and the sustainability of the water supply within our boundaries, and I would say beyond. And whereas Mark was instrumental in the development of the 2019 amended and restated agreement for exchange and advanced delivery of water between Metropolitan Water District, the Coachella Valley Water District, and the Desert Water Agency. And whereas Mark has been active in many capacities in the water industry, including the Association of California Water Agencies, the State Water Contractors, Delta Conveyance Finance Authority, and Sites Reservoir Committee, and whereas Mark has worked continually to improve the infrastructure of water mains, pumping plants, and reservoirs throughout the agency's 325 square mile service area, and whereas Mark successfully led Desert Water Agency through the COVID-19 pandemic, ensuring that our services were uninterrupted and that our staff was kept safe while at work. And whereas as general manager, he has worked collaboratively with the employees represented by the Desert Water Agency Employees Association in negotiating salary and benefits with both the agency's and employees' best interest in mind. And whereas Mark has made it his mission to hire and develop the best staff possible to oversee all areas of the operation of the agency. And whereas Mark has led by example and integrity and has run the agency as a professional business void of any bureaucracy and given employees direction, praise, and discipline with a fair hand and unbiased approach. And whereas the Desert Water Agency is deeply appreciative of the exceptional fine service that Mr. Kraus has provided and for the labors both seen and unseen on its behalf. And whereas Mark has consistently performed his duties meticulously and with commitment to the highest standards required in conjunction with the responsibilities he fulfilled, and has done so with the agency and its customers' best interest in mind. Be it therefore resolved. It is a little bit truncated, but we'll go ahead anyway. Be it therefore resolved that the Desert Water Agency Board of Directors, got thrown a little bit, that Mark S. Kraus is, with infinite thanks and appreciation for his 29 years of service to the Desert Water Agency and our community, thereby granted the status of retirement. You still have 2 days, by the way. It is the wish of the board that Mark spends countless years enjoying a happy and healthy retirement, because he has most definitely earned it. Adopted this 20th day of February 2024 with the retirement effective date of February 22nd, 2024. Mr. Kraus, would you like to say something?
Yeah.
Better this way, that way I can turn around. Well, thank you so much, Mr. President, members of the board. I calculated out, I think I have 494 board meetings under my belt for 19 years, but not as many as Pat. So a lot of staff reports. I just want to say thanks to the President Board for opportunities and for a really great year. This has been, a big learning curve for all of us, how to get along and get things done, and I think we're doing good. And I'm sure you guys are going to continue with Steve Johnson to do, great work. I want to thank Mike Riddell. He said some really incredible things about me at my retirement party. I can't live up to all that, but he definitely made me a better general manager. He's guided, he guides us, and he's really helped me avoid some huge mistakes and gave me a depth of understanding of our legal responsibilities and the legal hazards. And I just thank you infinitely, Mike. Really appreciate it. I appreciate all of you. The only thing what comes to mind this morning, and I'll try to be briefer than I was at my retirement party, but family. You look like just like one big family to me, and including the former board members. I'm sorry, I meant to say thank you too, because all the stuff that they read in my resolution, you gave me opportunities to do. It was opportunities to be part of the agency and do some things that were really special. Every day, when I first started as assistant general manager, Dave Luker says, "Hey, you got to stop parking in that visitor or in the employees' parking lot. Park in the back, and talk to everybody on the way in and see what they're doing." And you know what I see people doing? I see them running. They're running to, and that comes from, I guess, the foreman are cracking their whips on you, but they're getting ready for the day and they're hustling. And then I walk through the warehouse, and I see how beautifully it's maintained and how everything is just in order. And that extends to all the facilities that we have. You could walk into anything and look around and say, "Hey, this thing looks, perfect." And we can always take anybody there and show them what we're doing because we're proud of it. Our vehicles are maintained that way. Our yards maintained that way. The warehouse. You walk through the accounting department, you see people busy, buzzing around, taking care of people. I know the operators are out there, checking to make sure that everything's running right. The engineers are doing their thing, designing and answering questions. It's just a hub of activity. And it was that way when I got here. Dave said, "This is the best agency there is." And it's, run like a top, and it looks good, and you can bring anybody in at any time, and you can be proud of it. And that was a precious thing that I got to I got to participate in, and then I got to take a leadership role in it, and it's been awesome. So I just want to thank you for those opportunities, and I want to wish everybody the best. I know you guys are going to be awesome, and just keep doing the same thing. And you have to make changes, but just remember, keep your eye on the prize. Keep DWA. So, thank you.
Thank you. And so with that, I'll look for a motion to accept resolution number 1318.
I'll make a motion to accept resolution number 1318.
Thank
Second.
you. Thank you. I have a first from Director Bloomer, second from Director Gracia. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Director Gracia,
Aye.
Director Bloomer,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer McKenna,
Aye.
Vice President Bowman,
Aye.
and President Ortega.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. So is now a time for photos? Yeah?
Yes, yes. Photo time, and there's some bagels back there. I think.
Well, I don't think we
I
need
know
photos of the
construction was
bagels,
here,
but-
so. But yeah, let's take some photos.
Could I ask the Pat to come up here first?
Covered up their crimes and their departure. I couldn't say anything good about it.
I think we should have been allowed to speak. Anyway. The only time we ever get to see employees.
Perfect, thank you.
So we're going to have you come back up to do a group one. That's okay.
Vanna. Getting out of the way.
That way I get eye contact.
Haven't been asked. Are we, should we go in?
I think we could all go.
Wait a whole year before doing this. Hmm? I get to wait a whole year before doing this.
One sec, just to get away from the screen, if I could have you in the same format, just right here. Perfect, thank you. I want to move it later. One, two, three. Can't wait to retire.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Okay.
All right. All right. All right.
All right.
Thank you. Congratulations.
All right.
Who used to fill in the white t-shirt?
Tom Kiley, he was a former board member.
Oh.
He's, in some ways, outside of Pat, he's sometimes considered a resident historian of the water agency. He's got a lot of background. I think he's also a member of the Palm Springs Historical Society. I think that's probably where that connection.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
We didn't get to comment on Mark.
Oh, you're right. Sorry.
It would have gone very long. I hope he doesn't mind. We can do the director's remarks.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good idea. All right, we can move to item 7D. Request adoption of, no, we've done that already. Sorry, 7E. Request authorization to continue emergency repair work at DWA facilities under Resolution 1312, the reallocation of existing maintenance funds and enter into contract for emergency grading services at Mission Creek Groundwater Replenishment Facility. Mr. Tate, thank you.
Thank you, President Ortega and members of the board. On September 19, 2023, the board adopted Resolution 1312, declaring a local emergency for the repairs of the agency's facilities due to Tropical Storm Hillary. Since the storm, staff has been working to restore the Whitewater Headworks and the Mission Creek Groundwater Replenishment Facility. An itemized list of tasks completed is provided in the staff report. I'd like to highlight a couple of items, one of which will require board approval. An aerial survey was conducted of the replenishment facility. This survey determined that approximately 40,000 cubic yards of material was deposited on site in the debris basin. Staff negotiated with Weaver Grading Incorporated, a licensed contractor, to relocate the sediment on site and install riprap slope protection in the debris basin for $304,250 in attachment 1. Attachment 2 provides a drawing summarizing the work to be performed by the contractor. This is a narrow scope of work intended to restore the site to pre-existing conditions and provide improvements to help prevent or mitigate future damage. As stated in Section F of the agency's procurement policy and California Public Contract Code, during an emergency declared by the agency's board of directors, the agency is authorized to enter into a contract without competitive bidding when time is of the essence to forestall a shutdown of essential services. Mission Creek Groundwater Replenishment Facility provides an essential service to the residents who depend on the replenishment facility. The 2023-2024 budget includes $500,000 for maintenance of the replenishment facility. The funds are in a maintenance account for the replenishment facility and were intended to be used to remove rocks within the basin and scarify the basins to improve recharge. These funds are available for use for the emergency work. The planned maintenance may be delayed until next fiscal year. In addition, on November 22nd, 2023, FEMA announced that federal disaster assistance has been made available under FEMA Directive 4750. Staff have been working with FEMA to determine if this project qualifies for reimbursement. Staff are also seeking reimbursement through FEMA for emergency work done at Chino West Diversion and Whitewater Headworks. The general manager has determined that the damage to the agency facilities warrants the continuation of the work under local emergency as outlined in Resolution 1312. The fiscal impact of this project will be the work from Weaver Grading for $304,250, which is within the designated Mission Creek Recharge Groundwater Replenishment Facility 2023-2024 budget of $500,000. Funding for the previously planned maintenance work will be requested in the 2024-2025 budget. FEMA has set aside disaster relief funds. The agency staff will pursue reimbursement, which will reduce the fiscal impact if received. Finance Director Sands has reviewed this report. Staff recommend, as required by Resolution 1312, the continued work to repair agencies' facilities occur under the board's declaration of local emergency. Additionally, staff recommends approving the grading contract with Weaver Grading for $304,250. Thank you for your time. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Director Gracia, do you have some questions?
Has the agency been approved by the feds to receive reimbursement for the storms of 2019? I see it's kind of referred to here, but
Yes, we're currently working through that.
yeah, I understood there was a,
We have received funds for Snow Creek. That was done as a urgent emergency basis, and we did receive reimbursement for that.
so when this all works its way through and begins to work itself out, will the improvements that were scheduled to be done at the Worsley Road facility, will those eventually be made as part of this transaction? It was going to be that 500,000 you're going to move. Will that be replaced so that those repairs can be made, or upgrades can be made?
So we have the money to pay the contractor right now. We're hoping through FEMA to get reimbursed for those funds.
Yeah.
And I don't know the timeline of that, but
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Bloomer?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Secretary Treasurer McKenna?
A question really on time frame. Do we know when it's going to start and when it's going to finish?
so the contractors indicated it'd take him about a month or so to slot us into a schedule. And then he's thinking about a month to complete the work.
I'm a little concerned because the county has reopened Worsley Road, and when I hiked through there recently, the people coming and going, we don't have a fence at the moment.
So currently we have K-rail to prevent people from entering our site.
Right.
And the issue was that if we put up a temporary fence, that would impede the contractor's ability to remove the debris. And we would have had to re-fence off that whole basin. So we currently have the K-rail to sort of mitigate trespass, prevent it a little bit.
I think the objective is
Eventually there will be a fence back.
move it along as quickly as possible and
Yeah.
get that fence back up. Thanks.
Thank you. Vice President Bowman?
Nothing from me.
Okay, thank you. Just to sort of follow up on a couple of the questions that were posed. So is there, let's assume that we don't do this, the intended maintenance until sometime in the following year. Is there, what might the risk might be?
So the scarifying of the basins,
Mhm.
the basins, there's currently boulders in the basins that were left there from the original construction. They're really a challenge to scarify the basin. So the plan was to move the boulders to the windward side of the levees
Mhm.
and then scarify the basin. The basin still functions, just maybe not as well. It's a maintenance item that needs to be done every few years.
Would not doing it this year perhaps raise the cost of doing it another year?
By inflation,
Mhm.
it's still a significant amount of work to get it done.
Mhm. And with regard to this fence question, or fencing, you said it sounded to me like you were saying with regard to the schedule that it might be completed in 2 months?
So after we remove the debris, because a lot of the debris is right on the fence line, so we're going to remove the debris, restore the levee to their pre-existing condition with some riprap rock, and then get it fenced. We already have a price for the fence. We have a contractor scheduled, or not scheduled, but online. He knows the project. He's bid on it, and that'll be the next step.
So 2 months to have the work done on the basins from, say, now, and then at some point after that, the repair or return of a fencing.
Yeah, we currently have K-rail surrounding the site
Right.
to prevent vehicular access.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? It looks like Director Gracia, you might have a question.
Just curious, is it serviceable now? Could it accept exchange water today? or
So,
is-
in theory, yes. The issue we have is the site stores about 100 million gallons of water. Currently, the debris basin has limited capacity for protection. So if we had the site filled with 100 million gallons of water and we had another pop-up thunderstorm or something like that that caused erosion and it starts this cascade problem where then that water cascades and erodes. Next thing, we've dumped 100 million gallons into the stream and added to any potential thunderstorm issue. That's the concern is more of a safety issue.
Okay, thank you. Any other additional questions from the board? No? All right, I'll look for a motion to accept authorization to continue emergency repair work
Move
as
the staff
proposed.
recommendation.
I think we just got the staff recommendation, did we not?
Continue and approve the contract.
Okay. So what do you need from us?
Approval to award the contract to Weaver Grading
Yeah.
and continue the resolution.
Okay, so are we doing this in 2 steps then? Is that what I'm
All
hearing?
one.
You can do it as one, that you are, that you're required the resolution number 1312, that we're declared an emergency, local emergency, and that will continue the work, and that we are recommending the contract with Weaver Grading.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Do I have a motion?
I'll move that.
Okay, I'll look for a second.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. So I have a first from Secretary Treasurer McKenna and a second from Director Bloomer. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Director Gracia,
Aye.
Director Bloomer,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer McKenna,
Aye.
Vice President Bowman,
Aye.
and President Ortega.
Aye,
Motion passes.
thank you.
Thank you.
So the next item, 7F, request adoption of resolution number 1320, designating authorized agents to execute agreements with the Governor's Office of Emergency Services for disaster remediation. Ms. Rapula.
Thank you, President Ortega and members of the board. Staff is requesting adoption of Resolution 1320, designating authorized agents to execute agreements with the Governor's Office of Emergency Services for disaster remediation. This sort of dovetails on what David was just talking about. So we've had a couple major disasters declared here in the Valley in the last 5 years. In February of 2019, the Valentine's Day storm came through the Valley and it caused significant damage to several agency facilities. Additionally, in August of 2023, Tropical Storm Hillary passed through the Valley and caused additional damage to several agency facilities. Staff has been working closely with both FEMA and Cal OES on these projects and just working through that process. In terms of fiscal impact, we have discussed previously with the board the February 2019 storm fiscal impact, and that has not changed at this point. There is fiscal impact involved with the tropical storm Hillary damage. The numbers that you're seeing in the staff report are preliminary at this point, mainly because a lot of the work has not been completed yet. We have completed the work at the Chino West intake that was done by agency staff using maintenance funds. Mission Creek Groundwater Recharge Facility, you just heard from David on. And the Whitewater Headworks, we have completed minimal repairs, but the bulk of the work is yet to be completed. And Director Science has reviewed this report. I'm going to go ahead and read through the resolution for you. Resolution number 1320, a resolution of the Board of Directors of Desert Water Agency designating the General Manager and Assistant General Manager on behalf of Desert Water Agency to be the authorized agents to engage with the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the Governor's Office of Emergency Services regarding grants applied for by Desert Water Agency. Whereas Desert Water Agency has applied for federal emergency management and California reimbursement for costs incurred for emergency response services and damages due to extreme weather and flooding in February 2019 and August of 2023. And whereas the Governor's Office of Emergency Services administers the state and federal reimbursement process and grant programs for emergency and disaster relief. And whereas Cal OES Form 130 requires Desert Water Agency to designate agents to engage with FEMA and Cal OES regarding assistance and grants applied for by the agency. And whereas Cal OES Form 130, previously approved by the Board of Directors of the Desert Water Agency on March 16, 2021, is set to expire on March 16, 2024. And whereas Desert Water Agency desires to ensure that Form 130 makes the agency remain eligible to apply for disaster relief for the incident designated FEMA 4431 DRCA and FEMA 4750 DRCA, as well as future disaster incidents for 3 years. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Directors of Desert Water Agency, authorizes the General Manager and Assistant General Manager to sign and execute applications and agreements for federal and state disaster relief and emergency assistance. Be it further resolved, the Board of Directors of Desert Water Agency does designate the General Manager and Assistant General Manager as the agents for Form Cal OES 130, designation of applicant's agent resolution for non-state agencies. Adopted this day, 20th day of February 2024, and effective on the 22nd day of February 2024. At this time, I'd be happy to take any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Director Gracia.
I have no questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Director Bloomer.
No questions.
All right. Secretary Treasurer McKenna.
I have none, thanks.
Vice President Bowman.
None from me.
Okay. And I have no further questions as well. So I'll look for a motion to accept the staff's recommendation.
I'll make a motion to accept adoption of resolution number 1320.
I'll second.
Thank you. So I have a first from Director Bloomer and a second from Vice President Bowman. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Director Gracia,
Aye.
Director Bloomer,
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer McKenna,
Aye.
Vice President Bowman,
Aye.
and President Ortega.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Item 8, it's a discussion item. We have one, and it's hosting Summer 2024 Groundwater Management District Association Conference. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, President Ortega. So on February 9th, we were contacted by Jason Norquist, who's the president of the Groundwater Management District Association, asking if the agency would be willing to host their 2024 summer conference. Apparently, the event was originally scheduled to occur in another state. However, that agency backed out at the last minute. And if we do decide to host this, we'd be responsible for getting the speakers for the conference, which is a day-and-a-half conference, which is, we were told, around 50 people tend to attend these conferences. And we would have to secure the location, pay for the location, and then we could recoup our costs with the conference fees to cover those costs associated with hosting. And they stated that we don't necessarily have to have it in the valley. It can be held outside of the Coachella Valley. They just were looking for a California state agency to host in the state of California. We have reached out to get preliminary costs from a hotel here in the Valley and also in San Diego. And we, at this time, are looking for a discussion from the board on whether you would like us to host this. Staff is recommending that if we do decide to host, that we host it here in the Valley in Palm Springs. I know that it's hot. However, it would be easier for us to manage that, and also the cost would be much less. And with that, I'll leave it to the board to discuss.
Thank you. Director Gracia, do you have any questions before we start discussion?
Well, just the comment that this probably should have gone to the Public Affairs Committee. It seems like it would be more appropriate to, for at least some of the new board members, to get a understanding of what our involvement with this group was in the past, and whether it's something that we really, want to be involved in. I don't know that we have the staff available to get involved with this deep of an operation. That's just my first, thought on it. But if it's a relevant organization to the agency that we've participated with in the past, I could see the possibility of interest. But at this point, I have no interest in it. So, whatever
Okay.
that's worth, as a director.
Right. Director Bloomer?
I think definitely doing it here is probably going to be the most affordable and less time-consuming way to do it. And I think it depends on what the pricing comes back as. I don't know what the registration fee is for the conference and kind of what our break-even point would be. I know there's cost involved also in staff time to set up the event. I think it's kind of a strange way of hosting conferences, is to have the hosting agency be responsible for the fees. So I don't know how the agreement works, but I thought it was an interesting way to do it. And I know our involvement in the past, Director Chiaffi was actually the first board member to participate with this group, and us being a groundwater agency, it seems relevant here, but I also think it's still kind of a interesting setup with us covering the costs for the conference, with maybe making the money back.
Thank you. Secretary Treasurer McKenna?
It feels a bit outside our core competence to me, organizing a conference. I'm sure our staff could do it, but I think they've got, other things to do. So I would be inclined to decline the invitation to host that.
Okay. Vice President Bowman?
I agree with Director McKenna and Director Bloomer that it seems to be a lot asked of us at such short notice, and I don't know why the prior or the other hotel or the other host company group declined or couldn't do it. I like your phrasing. Staff recommends that the agency decline the invitation, however, advise the GMDA that it would like to be considered as a host for a future event with proper planning. Lack of planning on one part doesn't mean an emergency on our part.
Okay, thank you. And as I think, in addition to Director Chaffee having been involved with this, attending conferences for this organization, I've also attended the last two, and they've been very well done, even though they have been for fairly small groups of between 50 to say 75 attendees. The last two times that I've attended, I've been asked by members of that board whether we would be open to hosting a future conference, and there was no commitment made at that point. And it was my understanding, and I don't know, Mr. Johnson, if you had a chance to follow up with Jason about the future date, but it was my understanding that a date had been selected sometime in the future, or a year had been selected sometime in the future. Were you able to do that?
So Ashley Metzger has reached out to Mr. Norquist, and I believe that it was scheduled for next year. However, Ashley, correct me if I'm wrong on that.
No, that's absolutely correct. That's why we were contacted after the previous host fell out, is because we were theoretically next in line, although the next opportunity is next summer. So it's not their winter conference. And I did speak with them about the fact that hosting in Palm Springs during the winter might be a better fit, given the logistics. So they understand the constraints, and they were also very clear that if there was hesitation, they would just put a blast out to all of their members, and they weren't too concerned about us committing at this point.
Okay. Yeah, I think theoretically, I as one member of this board, theoretically, I would be certainly open to hosting that event, but not at this time, not in the next few months. I think that the time frame is too short. This would have to be, as if I sort of walk it backwards, this event is typically held in July, and would mean that we would essentially have to have something wrapped up pretty quickly in order for for the rest of the potential attendees to know about it, to sign up for it, to register for it. And I'm concerned about the requirement of staff, really, at this point, to try to pull something together so quickly. But perhaps we could let them know that we would consider, summer or fall or whatever on the calendar that makes sense in a future year, if that's next year or some year after that. Is that possible?
Yes, that is absolutely possible. We will reach out to Mr. Norquist, let him know that at this time we are not interested. However, we would be interested in hosting at a later time, and preferably in the fall or of that year, and see what they say. We can do that.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that
Thank
to
you.
us. All right, we can move to item number 9, which is the general manager's report. Again, that's Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, President Ortega. First item here is some work we did at our Snow Creek cabin, DNR Select Construction. What they did is they fortified the foundation of the cabin. There was some strap work that needed to be performed, and they were able to complete that project in 10 days at a cost of $38,000. And there's some photos there. You can see just some of the strap work that occurred on the bottom there. The cabin is suspended above grade because of the terrain, and so they needed to reinforce that strap work. Next item, I wanted to bring up some promotions that occurred. On the 5th, Clark Elliott was promoted from Conservation Specialist 2 to our Conservation Manager. And then on February 2nd, Xochitl Peña was promoted from Outreach Specialist 2 to Public Affairs Manager. and they are both here in the back, and just wanted to let the board know that we do now have a public affairs manager and a conservation manager. And then, of course, with Mark's retirement, effective on the 22nd, I will become the general manager. David Tate will be promoted from operations engineer manager to assistant general manager. And Ryan Mulhook, I don't know of how much exposure you've had with Ryan. However, Ryan's been here there's Ryan in the audience, for several years. And he will be promoted from senior engineer to operations engineering manager. Just very excited to continue having great staff, being able to fill in when positions become available. So just I wanted to introduce you to I know you know Sochi, maybe have had a little bit of meetings with Clark, and then of course Ryan and David, and just and of course replacing Mark, those are big shoes for me to fill, and hopefully I can fill them. I'll probably have to wear a couple pairs of socks to fill in that gap, but he has pretty big feet. So.
Got it.
All right. The next item is our system leak data report. See, starting to trim down those leaks. It wasn't over a large period of time. However, we've only had 10 leaks, and 3 of those mains are on our scheduled replacement. Avenida Caballeros, which we were hoping to start in February, I believe it has now been pushed to March, if that's correct. So there's still some material issues. However, we have started the clock on them they have 150 days now. The clock has started for them to get this work done. And then if they don't, there's liquidated damages and so forth that can occur. And with that, there's our map there, just showing the location. We have our human resource meetings and activities. Ms. Hopping, is there anything on there that you wanted to highlight?
We had in January, we reported on the Employee Appreciation Breakfast, which was a big success, so we're excited about that. And we started up our supervisor training again. We had just initially started it when COVID hit, and we all know in-person is a lot more impactful than webinars and trainings, at least in my opinion. So we started it up again, and we're hoping to do quarterly supervisor training so we can get back in a routine of it and keep it going. That's it.
All righty. Thank you, Chris, for that. General managers meetings and activities, again, tribal mediation continues. I believe there's a meeting tomorrow with the principals. And one other item, Sites Reservoir, I attended a meeting there. That's starting to pick up a lot of steam. That feel very confident that project will definitely be constructed, and I know the governor has put a lot of support behind it. So, and with that, be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Director Grasha?
On the state water contractors meeting, I noticed there was some discussion during about the closed set. Was there a lawsuit filed recently, or did you catch that, or
At the state water contractors meeting? I know, I think they filed against Sites Reservoir. That might be what the discussion was. Mike, do you recall?
Well, they have closed, can everyone hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Yeah,
Oh.
because, you know, that's confidential communication that,
Okay.
you know, I could probably share it with you, but not with the entire public.
Right,
But there are lawsuits that they're working their way through. There's actually several of them. There's also proceedings before the State Water Resources Control Board on the Delta Water Plan. They're trying to resolve those through voluntary agreements with a whole lot of parties that, you know, have their own interests in the plan.
Right.
I'm not you're referring to, but generally they've had some pretty good success on a couple of fronts. They got a favorable ruling on the environmental challenge of the extension of the contract, for example. And there's nothing new that I can think of that you know, that adds to what was already in process.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
All right.
Excellent report.
Director Bloomer?
No questions, thank you.
Okay. Secretary Treasurer McKenna?
I have none, thanks.
Okay. And Vice President Bowman?
None from me.
Okay. I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank Mr. Johnson for acknowledging the promotions that have happened in the last month or so here at Desert Water. I think, you know, we heard that a lot earlier this morning in the various resolutions and the comments that were made about this agency and the huge pool of talent that we have here, the long tenure we have here, and giving folks the opportunity to move up and take on more responsibility, I think is very important and also very, how do I want to say, rewarding as a director to see that happening on a regular basis. So, and acknowledging that here in the room, I think is in the public sphere is very important. So thank you for doing that. And with that, I think we can go to item number 11, which is director's comments and requests. And as I was reminded by one of my directors, this might be an opportunity to if you wanted to add some additional remarks about our soon-to-be, or to the general manager that we just granted retirement to, that would be a great time to do that.
President
So,
Ortega,
yes.
excuse me, we're on item 10, director's reports on meetings.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you're so right. Let's go to item number 10, and then we can go to number 11. So that's meetings on behalf of the agency. If you've attended a meeting, if one of the directors has attended a meeting within the last 2 weeks since our last board meeting on behalf of the agency, now it would be a great time for you to let us know and give us some impressions and thoughts. And we'll start with Director Gracia.
Had a flurry of activity since the last board meeting, which was on February 6th. On February 8th, I attended the Desert Valley Builders Association luncheon. On the 13th, February 13th, I attended a sites reservoir meeting that had to do not with a board meeting so much as a contractors meeting, which was very interesting. On February 14th, the Department of Water Resources and State Water Contractors meeting. On February 15th, the State Water Contractors regular board meeting, I guess, and the Delta Conveyance Authority meeting was that afternoon. And then on Friday the 16th, I had another one here, and this is where I came up with a question about new litigation. It was another sites meeting, I guess, that there was a mention of new litigation during the announcements, you know. And I couldn't quite put together what they were talking about. Then, of course, on the 17th, it was Mr. Krause's retirement party, which was a great event, and congratulations, really. And then here brings us to today. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Director Bloomer.
I think the only other meeting was, other than the board meeting, was the Palm Springs Air Museum Gala on February 10th. And then Mark's retirement party on the 17th. And that brings us to today.
Great, thank you. Secretary Treasurer McKenna.
Just to report, I was at Mark Cross's retirement party too. There were people there who knew him much, much longer than I have. People who knew him when he had hair. Imagine that.
And there were photos to prove it.
So that's it for me.
Thank you. And Vice President Bowman.
Yes, I too attended the Palm Springs Air Museum Gala, and first time ever being in the Valley for 20 years. It was a real honor and top-notch job at a really neat facility. And then, of course, 2 weeks later, we were at Mark's retirement at the same, or 1 week later, the same facility. And it was a wonderful retirement night, Mark, and I hope it goes deep and holds with you. On the 15th, we had our executive committee. And then I had the privilege of going to the Mission Springs Water District study session on the 15th, where our one and only Esther Sines, Director of Finance, presented to them, along with Steve, and some comments by Mark on the RAC. MSWD had questions, and I think they were able to present to them some foundational information. And I think it's the start of some wonderful dialogue about the process and about the RAC charges that have been misunderstood over the years by MSWD, and I think it'll be great to clarify those. And I have nothing but praise for how our staff handled it. And they had some good questions, and they deserve answers, and I think we're giving them to them. And we look forward to more.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I'm pleased to hear that meeting went well. And as far as other meetings I may have attended within the last 2 weeks, on behalf of the agency, again, I too was present for the party on Saturday night at the Air Museum, and I want to thank all the members of staff and also family members who might be in the room for helping pull that together. It was really a great evening. And with that, we can now move to item number 11, Director's Comments and Requests, and we'll start with Director Gracia.
I have no comments and no requests. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Bloomer.
Just a big thank you to Mark for your leadership over the years, and I'll miss our long conversations on the telephone about different things, especially during the pandemic when we couldn't meet in person. So thank you very much, and we'll miss you.
Thank you. Secretary Treasurer McKenna.
Yes, let me comment on this Mark Cross guy. Before I ran for this office, I did a fair amount of due diligence on the agency. I looked at the history of the agency, the financial state of the agency. And yet, when I sat in this chair and began to attend meetings, there were some surprises. And the first surprise, I think, was at the employee safety breakfast in January. We sat there in a room with 80 or so of the employees. And I was literally stunned by the degree of esprit de corps, the camaraderie, the support, the dedication of those employees, and the diversity of those employees in the room. And it was just an excellent and really wonderful surprise to see the nature of how should we say, the corporate culture of this agency, and the caliber and the excellence of the staff. Even though I knew this was a good agency, there was still a really nice surprise. I think the second surprise came in April. I sat down with other directors to look at the agency budget. And here was an agency, you know, I said at the time, I have a metaphorical scalpel in my hand because this is a public agency and they've got to be wasting money somewhere. And the scalpel was completely unused at the end of the meeting because this is not an agency that wastes money. This is an agency that it manages with care and detail. It was another pleasant surprise. So first year has been great for me, and I think we have to say that is a tribute to one individual, Mark Cross, who from the top of this organization has defined what it means to be a professional and ethical, to maintain standards of excellence, and I think it goes all the way down to the bottom of the organization. And I know Steve Johnson will have a like approach but you've got to comment on just how really solidly well managed this agency has been for the last many years. I think, Mr. Crouch, you should take great pride in that. That's your legacy. Thanks.
Thank you. Vice President Bowman.
Nothing to add other than job well done. You're a good man, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't really know what else to say. I think I said it Saturday night. And I think my colleagues have also reiterated that several times already. So with that, I will look to close this open session of our meeting and thank everybody for coming today. Our former directors, staff. It was nice to see a room so full of people, even if maybe a little uncomfortable for those who had to stand for a little while. And we will be moving into closed session. And I would say if we could meet in the closed session at 40 after 9, so that's about 15 minutes from now. And with that, thank you, everybody, and have a great rest of the day.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Are we ready? Yes, thank you. All right, item number 13 on today's agenda is reconvene into open session. And I can say that we have no reportable actions taken in the last session of the closed session. So with that, thank you very much, everybody, for today. It was a great day. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks. I'll close this meeting. Thank you.
There you go, how happy you made it.